Hey, Trevor.
Yep.
Have we stopped?
Aye.
Do we need to fix the backup engine?
Yeah, that thing's only for emergencies. No, I just sent Stanley to fix some shit on the hull.
Hey, Stanley's outside.
Oh, fucking hell, here he is. I've been trying to get through to you for ages.
What's it like out there?
Fucking, what's it fucking like out here? It's freezing, Andy, and I'm surprised I can even breathe out here, never mind fucking speak to you, which I wish I fucking didn't. Fucking freezing. What, that fucking asteroid? Andy, get me in here, mate. I'm fucking starving now.
Oh.
I want to get back
Oh,
inside.
sorry, dude. Your
When I get
signal's
hold of
breaking
you,
up.
I'm going to fucking rip your nuts off.
What did he say? Hey, you want to do a quiz?
Not really.
Why is there a piano in here?
I've got pride in my brain. Can you hear it hum? Hexadecimal thoughts, binary trees, sweet silicone, man or machine. I try to keep my head on straight. I've got a faulty battery brain. I can't even recall my name. I've got a faulty battery brain.
Oh, hey, how's it going, man?
Hi.
So, this is your keyboard?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, because I was talking to Trevor earlier. So you are William?
Yes, William. That's what I prefer, yeah.
Can I call you Bill?
Most people do call me Bill. Whatever.
When I built the ship and then all of a sudden all these animals came aboard and I feel like every week we're meeting someone new.
Well, here I am. Meow.
So do you... So do you have like a gimmick or what?
Well, there's obviously the keyboard.
Hey, have you ever met that keyboard cat from YouTube?
Keyboard twat, I call him.
Oh, some fucking drama?
Well, I was the original keyboard cat in terms of, you know, videoing myself, getting the songs down. And during the time YouTube started, so I was still using like an 8mm camera to do all my stuff on. There was no real internet thing. Anyway, I had a minor surgery. You know those collars they make you wear? Those big cones.
Well, that they make me wear or that they make cats wear?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what other animals use, but I think most of us have a big cone, don't we? Anyway, so I couldn't play the keyboard, could I? I missed the boat. And the guy got there before me.
Well, that must be extra frustrating too, because like the keyboard cat doesn't even really play.
What? Well, yeah, you know, I've had a lot of stress from that bastard YouTube keyboard cat guy. And obviously I'm way more talented than him. You know, I've got like 70 honorary degrees.
Well, that's exciting.
Quite a lot of them have been revoked.
Oh, that's too bad. What'd you do?
Which, you know, legal troubles.
Well, hey man, look, now we're in space. It's like Vegas, you know, like what happens in... No. Is that like Vegas? What happens in the spaceship stays in the spaceship. No, we're escaping Earth, so any of our earthly problems we can sort of say, hey, you know, fresh start aboard the spaceship.
Yeah, so I leave all the badness behind and I'm just left with my talent.
Before, when you were like playing keyboard, like do you refer to yourself as the keyboard cat?
Yeah. But obviously it's all on VHS.
We should get that shit digitized.
Yeah, I could send it to you. I'll have to find it. It might have been buried with my mother.
That took a dark turn.
Well, who else could they be buried with?
No, that's fine.
Is that fine?
It's canon now. This is like, regardless, this is technically the cockpit, right? So I mean, like, you can't use this as a practice space.
Well, it has the best acoustics.
Does it?
I think so. How do I sound now? Ah. Meow. Purr.
Very, very good. Yes, you sound great.
They're all my cat things that I do.
Right, but I mean, you can't keep your keyboard here, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, maybe if I play you a song, I was hoping you might allow me to write the theme song for your show.
I mean, we kind of already have a theme song.
You've got that one on it at the minute, but I think I can probably better it, maybe.
What do you got? Show me what you got.
Okay, here we go. Let me know if you know it.
I mean...
Have you heard this before? Well, what do you think?
I mean, like, it's fine. I don't know if it's theme song worthy.
Check this out then. So cancel that last one. Might work in the for the end song. So here we go. Yeah. Meow.
I mean, that kind of just... I mean, that sort of sounds like the other one, doesn't it?
No?
Wait, when did you start playing this piano?
Probably 2000. I was encouraged by my mother, which is sort of why she requested she was buried with all my 8mm tapes and VHS.
Isn't that a weird thing for your mom to die and be buried with your stuff? I'm just thinking about that now. Like, wait a second. That's odd, right?
Probably. I was quite depressed because of the whole keyboard cat thing, the YouTube one. I mean, I'm not angry at my mother, but I sort of angrily buried them with... I sort of angrily buried them with her. You know, like resentful and sad all at the same time.
You buried your mother? Like, you personally?
Well, yeah, that's what cats do. We just sort of dig at the ground and then nose them in. But that was the same time that I still had the cone on. So I think at one point I was almost like buried in soil myself, you know, in the cone. Like a soil ice cream. Like a soil ice cream. Yeah, so this one, I've saved the best till last. I probably should have started with it, but here we go. Check this out. Meow. Purr.
I like the soulful meows you do as you play. Well, I'd say don't quit your day job.
But this is my day job.
Wait, so you're a full-time musician?
Yeah.
Well, how about this, man? We'll set your keyboard up. We'll set up a practice space for you. I mean, leave it here for now because I got to do a quick interview with Zach Robinson, and so.
Zach's a musician, so maybe he could listen to the 3 tracks I've just shown you. He might have a different opinion. Do what you can.
Yeah. Sometimes there's certain things you can't do depending on the order in which they're filmed, you know?
I see. Is this a wormhole thing?
Yeah. It's a time travel joke. Look, it's lovely to meet you, Bill, the keyboard cat, the original keyboard cat.
Yes.
And just leave this here for now, and then we'll fucking we'll tidy up, and then maybe set you up with a practice space. And next time I see you,
oh great,
I want to hear some advancements.
Yeah, you like the beat though, don't you?
Yes.
That's the best bit.
All right.
Hey, thank you.
I like when people say thank you before they leave. All right, well, look, we're here right now with Zach Robinson, awesome music guy. Is it okay if I call you an awesome music guy?
Totally chill. Thank you.
I met you years ago when you were doing the DAD project.
Yes.
Now, is that still a thing? Do you still say I'm DAD, or is that the past?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's in this weird nebulous zone where I feel like DAD kind of just like evolved into kind of like the Cobra Kai score. I feel like I get most of my creative output like through that, but DAD is always a part of me. I identify myself as DAD on Twitter, but it's just not my handle anymore. You know what I mean?
I should say, I thought this was kind of funny. Last time I saw you, you visited Toronto years ago.
Yeah.
We had time to grab a beer and make a real quick, stupid video. And in that video, I go, hey man, make more music, and I go to slap you, and then you catch it like you're like a karate master.
Yeah.
And then you say the synth takes time, like you're some sort of like
I remember that.
Zen dude. Yeah. And then you end up scoring Cobra Kai.
That's crazy, actually.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I read the book The Secret once, and it turned me into a fucking moron.
Me too. And I watched the documentary with my dad.
Yeah, we're all a little dumber having...
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me aboard your spaceship. I really appreciate being here.
It's great to see you, and you're a
Good to see
talented
you,
dude, and
Thank
people
you.
should know... I mean, we just talked about it just there, but like obviously you've been scoring Cobra Kai, which is a great show. I'll say I was like a little late to it because I watched the ones you could watch for free at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
So I hope now if anyone goes and listens back to the episode where I talked to you about Cobra Kai several years ago, and I'm hoping I don't say in that I watched the whole thing, because I'm thinking now, I'm like, did I try and be polite and then say like, oh, I watched the whole show, it was great, and then now I'm going to be caught in some sort of lie. But the bottom line is the fucking thing's fantastic. Your music's great. You do it with another guy, right?
Yeah, Leo Bierenberg is my partner on that. We met working for our old boss, Christoph Beck, who's a big composer, and he did like Frozen, Edge of Tomorrow, and Ant-Man. So we like worked together very closely. So we have a lot of the same like systems and like creative like ways of approaching things. And I think Cobra Kai is probably the best like amalgamation of both of our backgrounds. And Leo comes from more of like a jazz, like he's a saxophone player, flute player background. Like he's got, and just, he's an amazing orchestrator. And I obviously come from more of like a rock background, synthwave, obviously like a big part of the score and a big part of my musical kind of development. So we mesh those together pretty seamlessly in the show. And by now, like we both do a bunch of things. Like Leo does synthwave stuff and I do orchestra stuff. But that's kind of like what we have those backgrounds that just kind of meet in the middle for the show.
Yeah. I mean, I say this without like hyperbole or whatever. Like, I think Cobra Kai is next to Blade Runner 2049 as like the two, I'm going to say, successful reboot sort of connection to 80s things. And Dark Crystal. I thought the Netflix Dark Crystal show was good.
It was good.
Those are the
three. It was
three.
good. I liked it too.
Obviously, that's been a huge thing, like 80s nostalgia and revivals and stuff. And I feel like a lot of times people get it wrong.
Yeah.
Whether it's the tone or whether it's, you know, when you bring out old actors and they're all like, it's like when you watch the new Star Wars movies and everyone just looks really old and kind of bored to be there. And you're like, it's sort of disappointing, and or they don't treat the characters properly. And I feel like Cobra Kai, and I guess kudos to the writers and producers of that show, because they really did go
100%.
Here's a whole bunch of like ways of like modernizing the story while still not betraying the old characters, but you still sympathize with their both sides of the anyway, like they did such a great job. And I was thinking that the whole time I was watching, like it was funny, like the humor was great, putting Johnny in these new situations. Like there's some
absolutely.
When he first discovers
like,
the internet, that scene was amazing. Like,
and you know that's Myron playing on that. Myron plays a lot of guitar on Cobra Kai, and that scene in particular, when Johnny discovers the internet, is a vintage Myron solo.
Fuck, I haven't talked to Myron in a long time.
Oh, you should. Yeah, he's crushing it. He lives not that far from me, so when it wasn't COVID, we were hanging out and shredding more often.
Yeah.
But I don't blame you for not watching everything. Like, I think the nicest thing about Cobra Kai going to Netflix is just, it truly was a barrier to entry show for most people.
Mm-hmm.
And it is nice to have friends and family, and like my grandparents are able to watch it. It's just nice to have people see what I've been working on for the past couple of years that we've all been incredibly proud of. So it's awesome. We're so happy that it ended up at Netflix. It really could not have been in a better spot.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like the only thing that's aired so far, like these are only 2 previously aired seasons. The new season hasn't even aired yet. No one has seen the new season. We've been done with it for a while.
Yeah.
But it'll be exclusively on Netflix.
I think because the fact that it was on YouTube, there was just this idea that, oh, it's a YouTube show, so it's going to be cheap or something. You know what I mean? Like there's a stigma there.
Absolutely.
And so Cobra Kai was just such a pleasant surprise. Like, cause it just, when you start watching, you're like, oh no, like this is like a fucking well done proper show. Like it's just,
it's an easy binge too.
I don't mean that to sound condescending. It's like, you know, sometimes
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So
absolutely,
that's great. And the fact that you guys are doing it's fun. One of the like the things I've always enjoyed about when I started Beyond Synth and meeting people, because I had you on like the first season, that's back in like 2013, and it's so cool to see some of the artists in the scene and some of the people who are obviously like, you know, really talented just get these awesome opportunities. You know, like, or I'll talk to somebody and they'll be all excited to do things, or they just release this little album and then years later you're sitting there like scoring a fucking hit Netflix show. You know what I mean? Like that's awesome. It makes me happy, like just seeing that happen to people.
Thank you, man. Thanks. It's like, I mean, it's a dream come true, right? Like, I mean, I've always wanted to compose, and when you first had me on, I was kind of just starting. I was like apprenticing, and it's I've ended up working on a bunch of things now, and Cobra Kai just like happens to be the one thing that is, it's very rare that you get a combination of a show where you get to work with amazing people, where you get to really truly like compose like with your voice. A lot of times when you're composing for movies and TV, like you've got to be a chameleon and kind of like make the clients happy. But in this case, I make the client happy, and you know, Leo and I are just incredibly proud of what we do. And then the third thing is that it's just really successful. Like that's a very rare combination. So, and you never know when it's going to go away. Like it could just get canceled. Luckily, there's a season 4, but you know, Netflix also like just canceled shows that they had already scheduled to shoot for newer seasons. So you never know. You never know when it's like the last thing you're going to score.
Yeah, I think now whenever people are involved in Netflix, like if you're producing a show for Netflix, I think it should always be in the back of everyone's head, like, let's end every season like it's the last season. Like, because I don't mind shows that don't have a long run. I just don't like when shows end on a cliffhanger. Like, that's just the only thing.
I know. Netflix cancels things as much as everyone else cancels things. It's just that the way that TV is written now is everything is a cliffhanger. Like, everything is a cliffhanger. Every episode is a cliffhanger, right? It's like a binge model. It's like, oh, it has to end with something suspenseful because we need to keep the person watching. Yeah. So that's just kind of the climate right now of like where it is. But I agree that, you know, at least I think creators are trying to get knowledge. Like, you know, if you're not going to pick it up, just tell us that you only want 3 seasons so we can like map it out or whatever. Yeah. They're trying to do more of that. I know that Cobra Kai, I think they want 6 seasons. I think they have mapped it out for 6 seasons.
I hope at some point we see Mr. Miyagi's CGI ghost.
I know, right?
Or I mean, like they can always do a flashback, I guess, like with a different actor. Like, do like show.
They've done like flashbacks with like the back of like a fake Miyagi, but it's that just like I don't think they're gonna touch that. They're not like that.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's just one of those things that's like so disrespectful. It's funny to me. Like, it's like
yeah.
And apart from this, there's also the game that just came out, right?
Yeah,
and so, did you guys have any involvement with that?
Yes. So the game is really cool because it is entirely new music. It's Like, we didn't use any music from the show, and that is because of like a licensing thing. Like, we weren't allowed to. So that kind of opened it up for, okay, like, what is the music of the Cobra Kai universe? Not just the show, but like the video game. And the game is a classic, like, side-scrolling brawler, like the ones, you know, from the early 90s that like I grew up playing. When the creators of the game told us like that it was going to be kind of like Streets of Rage or something, or Final Fight, we knew exactly what the music was going to be, because those types of video game scores influenced the sound of the show. Like the Cobra Kai score is influenced by video game scores. So by just the nature of us doing a video game, it is Cobra Kai in its like primordial like form. And the music was so much fun to write, especially because it's like, again, we were working with people who like really respected the Cobra Kai universe, and their one note was like, we just want the soundtrack to sound like Cobra Kai. And it's like, okay, well, by nature of us doing it, it will sound like Cobra Kai. And it was just like a blast to like write video game music, which I was in a video game metal band before I met you in high school called Dracula Mountain. This is basically this soundtrack is just partially like DAD and partially Dracula Mountain. It's Dracula Mountain I never had closure with. So, but yeah, and I just played it, and I hadn't played any of it working on it, and I was incredibly surprised at how much fun it was and how fluid it was, and lots of combos. The music is super fun to listen to as you're playing it. You can play as Cobra Kai or Miyagi-Do, and then there's different versions of the tracks depending on what dojo you play as, which is cool.
Are you going to be releasing the soundtrack like as a standalone thing people can buy?
It's released.
Oh, okay.
It's on all streaming services. I don't know if we're going to do a physical. We might at some point, but yeah, it's totally released. Yeah, you can listen to it.
Over 35 years of skeleton nonsense.
What the fuck? Why has he got me outside doing this for? I haven't got fucking fingers, and he knows this. I reckon he's fucking bumming Trevor. Yeah, I reckon he's bumming Trevor. That's why he gets all the fucking cushy jobs. Freezing. Fucking hell, enough. I want me packet of crisps. Cup of tea. Crisps. Need a shit. Fucking keeps whining on at me all the time. I'm sick of it. I hope he dies. Right, let's have a look in the old porthole. Peeping Tom, let's have a peep. What the fuck? Hang on a minute, he told me they were not being done today. He said there was no one coming round for tea and crumpets. He told me to go outside and fix this fucking cardboard shit. I'm gonna shit in his cornflakes tomorrow, and he won't know what hit him. Fucking dozy old bastard. I forgot you can't breathe in space. Let me.
Speaking of games, because obviously you talked about how game soundtracks have inspired you and stuff, and so now this isn't necessarily a top 5. This is more like soundtracks that you really like that maybe don't get the recognition you think they deserve. Is that the idea?
Word, yeah.
And I'll grade you based on if I agree with your list. That's
good. Okay, great.
That's the game.
I like that.
For the audience, because when people they see segments like this and everyone gets all excited to be like, what about fucking Flashman from Mega Man and all that shit? Like, yes, we know. Yeah. Everyone knows like the great things, but sometimes it's fun to shine a spotlight in places where,
Absolutely. Anyway. It goes without saying that we all love like the underwater level from Donkey Kong. Like we all love that. We don't need to talk about it. I mean, some of the things that I want to talk about are still famous. They're still well-known games, but I just feel like they're under-discussed. Like I'll make it a little more personal for me. It's not just under-discussed, but soundtracks that have like influenced me personally. So that way people won't yell at me for picking the wrong thing, because it's
so now do I feel like I'm gonna feel bad grading you.
That's fine. You can still grade.
I really like the soundtrack to this game because it was the last thing my dad played for me, and I'm like, I didn't like it. Fucking thumbs down. Sorry if that's actually one of the memories. No,
it's not. But it's funny that I do. It's funny because I had like my game console in my room, my N64, and my dad used to come in when I was sleeping and play. Specifically, he used to play Episode 1 Pod Racer, and he used to play, Turok, like very random. You remember Turok?
Oh,
It was like a dinosaur. Yeah. But I used to wake up and I used to be like, "What?" And he just would look at me and not say anything, and then just like go back. And he had the best save file in Pod Racer. I always use my dad's save file because he had the most characters in Pod Racer. So respect.
I will say this, Turok 2, there's some amazing music in Turok 2.
I'll check
I remember I reached out to the fucking guy, but he never got back to me because I wanted to have him on the show because it was like this really elaborate orchestrated thing.
Can I just say a cool, like, Beyond Synth type story really quickly that reminded me that you reached out to the Turok guy? Do you know who Paul Herzog is? Paul Herzog is the composer, for those who don't know, Bloodsport, Kickboxer, a lot of the, like, Jean-Claude Van Damme era 80s movies, which are also very influential on the Cobra Kai score, as I'm sure it's influential for a lot of synthwave artists. Paul Herzog has got his contact info on his email, on his website. And I just shot him an email. I was like, dude, I am a huge fan of your soundtracks, and they have influenced my work. And the dude responded in like 20 minutes and was like the nicest guy. I always tell people, if you like an artist or a composer, you should reach out because we love to hear it. I love when I get to write to people, and then I try to respond to people when they email me.
Yeah, because I remember I did that with Dan Ford, and he does the Mortal Kombat music like for the games. And he was another guy who I just like fucking messaged randomly. I'm just like, hey, you want to be on the show? And he's like, oh, hi. And like, he was like a cool guy.
Did he do the show?
Yeah, that was like years ago. I had to like do it through a PR person and they wanted to listen to it. And so there's only one thing we had to remove because there was one point where I was like bashing Mortal Kombat Annihilation, like the sequel movie. And it's got nothing to do with him because he had nothing to do with the movie. It was just, it came up in the conversation. And so it's like, you know, it's not a professional brand thing to like talk shit about.
That's why actually let's not talk about Jaden Smith Karate Kid. Let's
but that stuff doesn't count. That's my point of view. But it isn't technically. They made one reference in the show to Karate Kid 3, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So that is canon. Like,
I think actually Karate Kid 4 is also canon. The newest Karate Kid with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan is not canon. But I think the creators have said that all 4 are canon.
Okay.
It's the Miyagi centric. That's how they frame it. Yeah. The Miyagi verse.
Anyway, what? All right, give me your game.
All right. I would say that my formative like gamer years were N64 era. Even though I grew up with an SNES too, and I have some SNES games, I would say the ones that I think are the most nostalgic for me are N64, because I think I just have like some of the best memories from that, and also as it relates to like getting me into music composition. But I'm going to start off with Star Fox 64. Koji Kondo, obviously an incredibly famous video game composer, Zelda, Mario. I feel like Star Fox does not get talked about that often, and it is a very like cinematic, symphonic, weirdly avant in certain places. Some of my favorites are like Corneria, Sector Y, some of the boss battle ones, and the Mission Accomplished, for example. Like, I think the Mission Accomplished is one of the best like Mission Accomplished tracks out of like any game. And I think that it lends itself to real life orchestral arrangements. Like, I think it just is, when you hear it performed like a real orchestra, it's like, wow, like this sounds like it was for a movie. And then when you listen to the soundtrack, of course, they didn't have those types of resources to use a real orchestra, but the arrangements are all still there. And I think it's just an amazing score.
What struck me was that it seems to use the same palette as Zelda, like Ocarina of Time. Sure. Like, it's a lot of the same instruments. And that was Koji Kondo too. Isn't there another dude? Isn't Star Fox... There's 2 composers, I think.
I think there probably is.
It's funny thinking back to a game, like saying, I really love the music for this game, when I remember at the time, the thing that stood out was the amount of voice acting at that time.
Oh, of course,
in Star Fox 64, so like classic, that was the standout thing.
Yeah.
But I think there's a level called Zone S.
Yeah.
And what I love is the fucking... you jokingly mentioned the aquatic ambience from Donkey Kong, because we all love it. But there's
they have an aquatic level.
Yeah, there's a level called Aquas, I think. And then there's the select screen, like just the main menu screen.
Yeah.
Is a really nice... I mean, not quite at the level of aquatic ambience, but it's got that same sort of like kind of chilled out, dreamy sort of vibe that you can kind of listen to on a loop.
The ambient like menu select genre is awesome. We have a little bit of that. We have a little bit of that in the Cobra Kai game too. I love that. I love that subgenre of video game music.
Yeah, man. Okay, well, I'll give you a point for that.
Okay, so it's not letter grades. It's point.
It's out of 5
merits. Cool. Oh, cool. All right. All right. So then my next one, let's stay with the orchestral theme. This is the only American that I have on my list. Is Gary Scheinman scored a BioShock. BioShock came out in what, like 2007, I think. And from a personal standpoint, that was me really like focusing on becoming a composer. And I remember hearing BioShock and playing BioShock. I think everyone remembers BioShock because of its incredible, just like ambience and its sound design, how it really like takes you into that world of Rapture. The music is very kind of like modern, early 20th century, a lot of like kind of like Stravinsky or like Arnold Schoenberg kind of textures, and a lot of like beautiful solo violin that's really like dissonant. And I love that. I can't think of another game from around that time that really conjures up the same type of atmosphere that score does. And I feel like people talk about that game a lot because it's a super famous game, but I think the score really contributes to the atmosphere and to its success.
The music was sort of like, it was like orchestral, kind of like scary music, right? Like mixed with like tracks from like the 40s and 50s. Wasn't there like fucking gramophones and shit playing?
Right. The soundtrack that's not the score is also just incredible. Like the music that they selected for the game is stellar.
I don't know, like how do I score something that I'm not really that familiar with? I'll give you a point on principle just because you're a nice guy.
All right, so I can see where this is going. I feel like this is a biased point system. All right, my next one, I'm going to talk about Double Dragon from the Neo Geo console. This soundtrack was random. This just ended up on my iPod, like at some point in my life. And True Fighter is one of my all-time favorites. And I think that it really straddles that line between just like the ultimate fighting soundtrack and also playing a little bit of that Japanese fusion sound that really made its way into a lot of these games. That was a big influence also on the Cobra Kai soundtrack. True Fighter, The Elder Son is Heartbroken. These are like fantastic names. The Elder Son is Heartbroken is the best track name I've ever heard.
My issue with this soundtrack is it doesn't have the Double Dragon theme.
I understand that.
Which is like a flaw. Because like I go back and listen to it, and I'll say, as far as track titles are concerned, there was one track title I started laughing my ass off at called a Bloody Meat Bomb or something. Like it's just a stupid title. So I'm like, what the?
I think someone did a very literal translation.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I think that's valid. It doesn't have the Double Dragon theme, but I also think now, actually being on the other side of like writing a video game score, that I wonder if it had to do with licensing.
You like complex orchestrations. I get that impression. Like a lot of the things you like tend to be like these very sort of complex and fast.
Yeah.
Like
yes, and I like when every space is kind of filled up. You know who is also like that, who I've talked about this, is Sunglasses Kid. It's a very like late 80s type of vibe where every kind of beat and subdivision is kind of filled up by a different timbre. Like Scritti Politti, if you ever listen to Scritti Politti, like they're like the kings of that. And I know that, shout out to Ed Gamper, because I know that like the Sunglasses Kid music is all about that.
Yeah, I think my favorite track from this one was a slower paced one. It was called Moon in the Factory or something. It's something like that. There's a lot of games that have these sort of scores where they're almost like too complicated, especially with this soundtrack where it's like and there's like a bass line, it's like and there's all this fucking
I can tell immediately because of everything that you just described. Like I can press play on a song and I just know exactly what I like, and I can hear it in like 2 seconds. If I can go like this to it, like I'm like doing a really quick slat of the bass, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in. You locked me in. So
yeah.
That soundtrack. And if there's a lot of like bells, like a lot of like chime bells doing like ostinatos, I'm like, That's me.
Oh, look at them fucking laughing. They're practically noshing each other off. Fuck yeah, la-di-da, laugh it up, boys. No one ever fucking asks me what my favourite soundtrack or song is of a game, do they? Well, I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you right now. It's GTA Vice City soundtrack. All the tracks are on there from 80s stuff, so I love it. So, fuck you two. I'm off. You bastard.
Here's an actual side scroller. And this is also my favorite to say. It's the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, the game.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is by Hiroyuki Iwatsuki. This one is legit actually one of my all-time favorites, not just Undiscussed, like all-time favorite soundtracks. Some of my favorite tracks include Shopping Center. It's just, I love these titles. I love titles that are just the level, and it's just the level name. So like Shopping Center, Frozen Mountains, Ivan Ooze, I think is one of the best boss battle music. Just like super power rock soundtrack, 16-bit, but like, oh man, a lot of fake guitar solos. Really, I just like really respect it. I would really love to see what if Power Rangers could go the way of Cobra Kai. If like something can be done about Power Rangers.
Yeah, I wonder, because I mean, they still make those, like they still pump them out. Like if you ever go on Netflix and type in Power Rangers, there's like 80 Power Rangers shows, and just like, oh, the only one I ever watched kind of was the original.
The original.
That was pretty much it.
Both the television show and this game really like kind of left a lasting impression on me. I think it does influence the Cobra Kai score. There's also a few DAD things that I feel like were influenced by kind of just the Power Rangers vibe. The track Sky High that's on the Construct. When I was writing that, I always imagined the opening of Power Rangers, the movie where they're skydiving. That's just what I thought of. So yeah, I think this game soundtrack is pretty great. I would highly recommend it.
There's something funny about the fact that it's a lot better than it needs to be or had to be.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I remember there was this fucking terrible Barbie game that's got this great song in it where she's driving her car. And the only reason why I know that is I think one day I was like game streaming and I was like, I was going to play shitty games for fun. So I put on like this Barbie game from the Genesis. And then there's just this awesome, stupid loop of like, I mean, it's not a great song. It was like a really simple bass line. It's like ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 but like it's just so catchy. But then with this game, I agree with you. I think Shopping Center is an awesome track. I think Lab, there's like an energy generator lab, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I love the ones that have those awesome intros where it just has like a super epic, like a din, 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 or whatever, and then like it kicks into this thing. Yeah. All right, I'll give you a point for that.
Also, very, very challenging game too. If you ever play it on like an emulator or anything, very hard game.
Whenever I play on an emulator where I do the thing where you can rewind and then I cheat.
I don't know. I'm not a nerd and I don't cheat, so I don't know. Last one, I mean, this is just, come on. Wave Race 64, 1996, Kazumi Totaka. Just a tour de force. I think the cool thing about Wave Race, in Japan in like the mid-90s, you've got all these like Japanese like fusion rockers who were in bands who just like went into like scoring video games, or you had composers who were like really influenced by like what is now called like city pop in the 80s in Japan, kind of like boogie funk fusion pop music that is very complex and very melodic, and that kind of like infiltrated into like video game soundtracks around that time. And Wave Race is just an amazing example of that. When you say Wave Race to someone who knows what Wave Race is, like people immediately understand the vibe. And like I've gotten a lot of people saying like on our game soundtrack, like people saying like I can hear Wave Race from this, and there's something about it, and maybe it is that thing that like everyone just played this game when they got the N64. The opening, the theme, it's just like so good. Dolphin Park is a great one. Just like sunny, bright, fun music. It's just an amazing soundtrack, and it's an underrated game too. It's a very fun racing game. Because
the whole album has this certain vibe, or the whole game. So my favorite track is this one called I think it's like Marine Fortress, just because it's ridiculous. It sounds so like spy rock music.
Yeah.
For no reason, because like every other track is totally unlike that one, and then there's just a fucking or whatever. The vibe of this music is what became like the default Nintendo vibe. Like, you know, there was a point where when I think about the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo, and obviously they're you know limited by the hardware and what sounds they can produce, but in my head the music was always bigger. Like I always felt like, okay, if this was with different instruments, when you think of Mario Underground music, you know, that to me isn't like that's fucking like in my imagination that's a big song and a big bass beat. And I feel like the N64 was the era where Nintendo decided, oh, we're into like this kind of weird soft digital jazz kind of stuff. And I think Wave Race 64 is what started digital that template. Jazz. I feel like the melody of Wave Race kind of goes into Wii Sports. Like there's some very similar melodies.
It's like this like family friendly sound. There's also some other games on N64, like Pilot Wings is like is like super chill, and I would put that in the same realm as this. Yeah. That's an interesting thing that you're talking about, how like when you think about some of these soundtracks, you forget that, you know, the hardware they were using, you know, I guess is like sonically small and limited, but it's such a testament to the music that you hear it as kind of this other way, and then it's bigger, and it's really, I mean, it goes to show it's like just powerful arrangements, powerful melodies. And of course, video game music is just something that you're listening to constantly, and it's talk about like a subconscious, like not even knowing what you're digesting. It's just on all the time when you're playing. Video game scores are so unique in that way that I think it ties to your memories a lot more than film music does.
Just the virtue of the repetition. It's like, this is a 45-second loop that you've listened to for 200 hours of your life, you know, like.
Seriously, yeah. Or like anytime you turn on a game, it's like you just, even if you hear the first 15 seconds of just like the opening music, like it's just, that's gonna wear on you at some, in a good way. It's going to infiltrate itself into your brain. The thing that drives me crazy now is I just feel like in a lot of games, and you could argue this about film music or television music too, it's just like a lot of these games kind of like you lose the melody. Games now with DLC too, they're constantly changing the music. So like if you're playing a game, like I play a lot of Warzone, especially in quarantine, that's really my only social activity with my friends that I can do is Warzone, and they change the music all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's like you can't really get used to it, but also on top of that, the music is just like, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. I had to turn it down the other day. It was so loud. And I'm not saying that like melody is God here. Like you can have some type of like atonal situation or whatever, but I just think that a lot of it is about atmosphere, and that's fine. But you know, I'm interested to hear in 15 years from now, like the kids growing up on these types of games or like some other games on you know the modern systems, like what sticks with them. It'll be interesting to see that.
The interesting thing is going to be if anything sticks with them. Because like I've got like my son is 9, and they are just invested in meme culture, and so it's like it's all about short bursts of random shit. Yeah, and like they get attached to certain ones where like, you know, like how memes work. It's just some guy said a weird sentence in a funny way and has a silly hat on, and like they'll just be quoting that for a week and then they're done. I feel like when we were younger, we absorbed the things we had more because there was just less things. And so it's like when you have a video game, that's the game you own, that's the game you play, and that's what sticks in your head because of all the repetition. But now it's like, you know, they're getting bored, like you say, like swapping out music or things or assets changing. That's the thing that fucking drives me nuts about all these like online things, because my son plays Fortnite. They'll change things. We're like, it'd be like, oh, they took that gun out of the game, or they took this character out of the game. I'm like, what kind of game takes away characters? Like, what the fuck?
I know.
It's something I will never understand. It's just like, oh, we don't play as those guys anymore because like they got rid of them. I'm like, what a shitty game.
It's interesting because like I don't have a TikTok. My girlfriend has a TikTok, and I when we're watching TikTok, there's actually like a bunch of old school game soundtracks that make their way into like meme culture, and I think a lot of the Wii stuff does. The Wii stuff I think is interesting because like Gen Z was probably what I was when I was playing SNES. They were playing Wii, and if they're like, you know, the arbiters of like meme culture online, then it's interesting that like, you know, the Wii menu, the me menu select music is like a meme.
But my son doesn't know what it is. He used to walk around listening to the X-Files music and they thought it was the Illuminati theme. That's like, oh, that's the Illuminati music. I'm like, no, it's a fucking television show theme, you idiot. Like, anyway, look, listen. We've been talking for a long time. You gotta go. I'm kicking you out.
Okay. Well, thank you for having me aboard your spaceship. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Good to see your face. I hope you're staying safe. Your family's staying safe.
Have a lovely day. Keep making cool stuff. People should go check out all the music, man. Obviously, there's the DAD stuff. There's the Cobra Kai soundtracks, which are available. You can get those on Bandcamp, right?
No, they're just on all streaming services, and there's a physical release for Cobra Kai Season 1. There will be for Season 2 and Season 3, but it's all on any streaming thing.
Okay. Well, I don't really do any proper research. I should...
That I can tell. Don't worry about it.
I don't even know who you are. I don't know what's happening. All right, man. Well, listen, you have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for having me, Andy.
Well, that's our show. Thanks for watching. This has been Andy's Spaceship. I'm Andy, and this is my spaceship, all right? So it's goodbye from me, goodbye from Trevor, goodbye from Stanley, goodbye from Bill, and of course, goodbye from Twister, the fastest guinea pig alive. Whoa!
Gotta go bam!
Yes, you certainly do. Hey, you want to help me tidy up?
Gotta go!
Fuck. Well, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Anyway, look, all right? Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Gross. You can support the show on Patreon. I don't know why you would, but you could. And, yeah, that's it. I'm done. Hey, see you later. Tune in next time. There'll be more of the same.
Right, Andy, I've done that. Come back in now. Andy? Andy, you there? Andy? Have you fucking gone to bed? Are you and Trevor fucking watching films and falling asleep? Right, hang on. I'm just gonna check door. You fucking left it. You've closed it. You fucking locked it. Open the fucking door, Andy. Andy, for the love of God, open the fucking door or I'm going to open your fucking head.
I'm gonna conquer the universe, and I'll take off like a flash across the sky. Conquer the universe, I'm gonna make it if I try. I'll be all over outer space tonight, and I will party in far out galaxies. Conquer the universe, it is my final destiny. So many places I have yet to go. So many stars and so much space.